In this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden, the Infinite Tsukiyomi continues to infiltrate the minds of all of the ninja of the Naruto universe. This week's episode focuses on the character of Karin, and unlike having a very happy, wonderful, cheery Infinite Tsukiyomi world, hers is incredibly depressing. Maybe I'm mistaken in thinking this, but wasn't the entire point of the Infinite Tsukiyomi so that Madara could take over the world and sort of implant these super happy, desirable images into the minds of people? But Karin's entire backstory in this week's episode, which is all over the frickin' place, by the way, is just completely depressing and basically just all about her and how she's been continuously used by her village, Orochimaru, and what she ultimately truly desired to see was Sasuke's smile at the end of the day. That's about it. Really, I just don't have that much to say about this week's episode, but I will say there are some positives to this one. I thought it was very atmospheric, and honestly, I thought it was very disturbing. That's usually not a good point to say, but really by actually showing us a little bit more of the backstory of Karin, we can actually appreciate what she's gone through a little bit, because this never really dawned on me, but I always figured that all those bite marks all over her body came from her time with Orochimaru. But at least according to this episode, which may or not be true because it's the Infinite Tsukiyomi, when she was in her village, she was forcibly used as like a medication tool for the village, where she would have to go to all of these different battlegrounds where there were all these wounded soldiers, where they would continuously bite her all over her body. And as the episode goes on, you get to see more of these bite marks showing up, and honestly, it's really freaking disturbing, especially because this is apparently how her mother lost her life, where she was bitten continuously until all of her chakra was drained and she died. Really, it's just depressing as hell. And by the end of the episode, when she joins Orochimaru and then leaves with Sasuke, and since this is the Infinite Tsukiyomi world, she actually wasn't stabbed by Sasuke in the battle with Danzo, they decided that they were going to take over the Hidden Leaf village. Sasuke is now the Hokage, but then the Hidden Grass, who was the village that she was originally affiliated with, decide to invade, and they actually end up capturing Karin, but Sasuke ends up saving the day, and Karin ends up getting revenge against the one dude who was using her. That's pretty much all that happens in this week's episode. It's totally an episode that you could skip, but my main gripe with this week's episode is just the lack of attention to detail. There are moments in this week's episode that look really good in terms of the artwork and the animation, and then there are just some moments that make me want to frickin' scream to high heaven. There are just some embarrassing artwork moments in this week's episode. There is some jacked up animation in this week's episode. Some faces look weird, bodies are disproportionate, and then every once in a while you'll get a moment that looks really good. I just want some consistency in my Naruto Shippuden anime series. What I will say is, I just didn't really care for this filler all that much. It didn't make me care about the character of Karin all that much. I also didn't like the fact that in an Infinite Tsukiyomi world, we got backstories, we got flashbacks. Was this really all happening within her own world? Like, this is how she was actually seeing it? Or were they just skipping ahead for our own benefit, just reminding us who Karin is and why she's even in the series in the first place? This episode is just not all that great to me. It definitely has some of its moments, but it's totally an episode of Naruto Shippuden that anyone can skip. The only reason I would recommend even checking out this episode, if for some odd reason you like Karin a lot and you like her weird quirks, but honestly, a lot of them aren't even demonstrated in this week's episode, because it's all just depressing as hell, and it just makes me want to get back to the real story at hand. But that's not going to happen, because next week we have some Jiraiya backstory. It looks like Tsunade is going to be caught in the Infinite Tsukiyomi world, and she's going to be envisioning all of the stories that Jiraiya told, which is also going to involve the actual character of Naruto. It's a lot of weird stuff, and it's going to be a two-parter, so I hope we can get through it really freaking quick. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode? I don't want to beat a horse to death. I didn't like this episode that much. Like I said, the animation and the artwork was just a little wonky and all over the place. Didn't have any consistency. It's basically just a glorified Karin backstory. So if you wanted to see that, that's cool. But honestly, it's another one of those things which you really don't need to see. All of it's implied, you know, you're not really going to know that much more from watching this week's episode, and really that's just all I have to say about it, you know. I hate to be really negative and say that this is a bad episode, but it's just the way I feel about it, you know. I don't like this one. There's someone out there who might like this episode. That tends to be the trend when I review Naruto episodes anyway. If I freaking hate an episode, a lot of people tend to like it, so I don't really know what the deal is. But I would love to hear your thoughts about this week's episode in the comment section below. Please tell me what you thought about it. I'm giving this one a 2 out of 5. It was saved by some atmospheric scenes and getting to see some flashbacks of Karin that we never really saw before. Otherwise, this is a completely skippable episode of Naruto Shippuden. Let's hope they can sort of up their game in this next Jiraiya story, although I'm not holding my breath, really. I'm just waiting patiently until we can get back to the real damn story of Naruto. So, there it is. That's my thoughts. Check it out, Naruto fans. Everyone else, stay the hell away. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews and our weekly podcast show. You guys can also follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.